I'm
I'll
not
just
sure why
send a little
you're
baby spider.
giving up a blocker there.
Yeah,
Alright, well, we're just going to activate exponential growth again. Just pump up the gang a little more. And
sure.
this is looking like a good game
Sure.
for the Sporelings. It was looking dire there for a little bit, but we swung back okay.
Yeah, the board clear did it for you. That's for sure. Nicely done.
Alright,
Spore ramp came in strong late.
game one.
Hey everybody, welcome to the first reveal video for the first expansions to Nightmares ever. AJ, are you as excited as I am right now?
Yeah, man. With all the playtesting we've done, it has been just a blast playing with all these new cards and new mechanics. I can't wait to share it with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, this is probably the most fun I've ever had playing Nightmares. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, the archetypes that we designed, the fact that we both got a hand in designing these cards, and just like the I don't know, just like the cool, like new strategies and stuff that it brings to the table. It feels fresh. It feels fun. I'm loving it.
Every realm feels almost like a totally new realm with some of these decks. It's kind of crazy, but they don't lose their identity. I think we did a really good job of still leaning into what made each realm unique, but by also completely turning some of them on their head. It was a lot of fun to work on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They all still feel like their realm, but definitely new, fresh, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So just an overview of kind of the plan. So we're gonna do these reveals over the next 4 weeks. Each week we'll reveal one of the realms. Um, and we'll go through all of the cards being released for that realm. Each realm consists of two new archetypes, either two new archetypes or an older archetype that's been completely refreshed. But each, excuse me, realm within the expansion has two unique archetypes within it. And we'll cover all of the cards for each of those. And then we'll jump over to deck techs and we'll walk you through a deck tech from me and from AJ. We'll each pick one of the archetypes for that realm for the new expansion. And then we'll jump into some gameplay. So, right after we reveal the cards, you'll actually get to see them in action. So we'll do this once a week starting today for the next 4 weeks. And then on that fourth week, we'll actually drop the set. So as we get closer, we'll have more information about the actual day that it's going to drop. But you can expect 4 weeks from today, the cards to be playable. So yeah, I guess without further ado, we can jump into the first round we're going to take a look at. What do you think, AJ?
Yeah, let's get right into it. I can't wait any longer.
All right, so we're starting with the Black Forest. Um, and we're going to start with outside of the archetypes and all the new cards and stuff, we actually have a couple new card types coming to Nightmares in this expansion. So we're going to start with those and walk through them. So the first one is it's I guess it's sort of a new creature or a new card type. It's still a creature. But the first one is these machinations. So the expansion's called Dark Machinations, and that's kind of what a lot of the archetypes are built around. And how these work is there's essentially two new creature tags. There's base machination, like this cute little 1 mana 1/1, and then there's actual machinations. So your base machinations, like the scrap bot, you can play on the board like a normal creature, no additional cost. Some of them will have keywords or effects, like any normal creature, but outside of just being a base machination, there's no real difference between them and a typical creature. But then when we get into the actual machinations, let me pull one of those up. Here we go, pull up our hive mind. So when we talk about an actual machination, it works a little differently. So you can't just play a machination onto the board like you would a normal creature. You have to fabricate it onto an existing base machination. So say I had this scrap bot on the board, say I had this 1 mana 1/1 base machination. I could then play this hive mind onto it. Um, I could fabricate him onto the board, pay my 4 mana, and he would replace the scrap bot. And he gains the stats the scrapbot already has, and then if the scrapbot has any keywords, say he had intimidate, or lifesteal, or any of our base keywords in nightmares, then the hive mind, when it fabricates onto it, it would gain that keyword and it gains the stats. So using this as the example, we have the scrapbot on the board. We fabricate our hive mind onto it. It becomes a 4-mana 4/4 because it gains the stats from the scrapbot. And then all machinations have a fabricate effect. Some of them have other effects as well, but they all have a fabricate effect. And that kind of works two ways. It triggers when you fabricate onto something. So when you fabricate your hive mind onto your scrapbot, your fabricate will trigger and you'll summon a mecha skitter. We'll talk about in a minute. But it also triggers when something is fabricated onto this. So machinations can stack. I could do a scrapbot and then I could fabricate hive mind onto it, and then I could fabricate another hive mind onto it. I could stack as many as I want, and it doesn't have to be the same. It can be different machinations, but every time you fabricate onto one, both the fabricate effect for the existing machination and for the new one trigger. Um, so let's just to finish out talking about Hive Mind itself, we'll go ahead and show the Mecha Skitter that he summons. Um, so Mecha
Nice.
Skitter is another base machination. So each of the realms will get a base machination, and a legendary machination. We haven't talked about the legendary yet. We'll get to him in a little bit. But and each of those base machinations are going to have one of the major keywords for their realm. So Black Forest, spiders, it's got to be intimidate, right?
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah. So Mega Skitter, base machination, 2-mana, 2/3, intimidate. Again, you can fabricate your hive mind onto him, and then he becomes a what, 4-mana, 5/6
5/6. Yeah.
with intimidate and summons another mecha skitter. So you can definitely see how they kind of spread out and swarm like a typical spider deck, but they've kind of got their own feel. So we'll come back to the base machination or the machination archetype for Black Forest. The spider machinations is one of the major archetypes that we're going to cover in the Black Forest. But before we do that, we want to take a minute and talk about the other new card type coming to Nightmares with this expansion.
Oh
So
yeah.
we're going to look at one example of it. There's a couple of these that are going to be available in the set, but we're going to go ahead and kick it off with a legendary, and we're going to talk about areas. So areas are a brand new concept for Nightmares. They're one, AJ, I know we're very excited about. They
Yes.
really bring a whole new level of depth to the game. So let's take this one as an example. So um, every area has a cost, like any card in Nightmares, and when you play it, that becomes the area that you're now playing in. So I played this 2-mana Forge, and as soon as it's played, the background of the game is actually replaced with the Forge's artwork, and its effect is now in effect as long as that Forge is our current area. And those effects are equally represented for both players. So it can benefit both players. Obviously, if I'm playing Forge in my deck, the effect is something that is going to benefit my deck, but both players benefit from it the same way. It's not just whoever played it. So looking at this one, it says whenever a player plays a machination, and that includes base machinations, they summon a random base machination. And the important and fun thing there is it does not have to be a base machination from your realm. So I could be playing Black Forest, I put the Forge down, I play a couple machinations, and I start summoning base machinations with cool keywords and effects from all other realms. Um, so every area, just to recap, you play it, it takes over the board. The effect is now in effect as long as it's in play. And there's two ways to get rid of them. You can all of them will have a you can pay this amount to destroy it effect. So either player during their turn can pay 4 mana, excuse me, to destroy the Forge, or if another area is played, it replaces the area that's currently in play. Um, these are a ton of fun. I'm sure you'll see at least some Forge in our gameplay tonight. But I think this is one of the most fun and unique things we've brought to Nightmare so far.
Yeah. Also, you can play a different area on top of an existing area to replace it without paying a cost to get rid of it. So if you have an area of your own, you can go ahead and play yours on top of it and swing it in your favor for a deck that you know you have an area that benefits your realm.
Yeah, and typically your area, there's a good chance that it'll cost less than paying a cost to destroy an existing area. So it's a good way to
Right.
kind of get around it. And we've got a couple different areas that we're introducing in the set that we'll release over the next couple weeks. And they all are unique and fun and like really play into um, for the ones that are for specific realms, they really play into the feel of their realms and they just add something, I don't know, something special to the game.
Yeah.
So that's the two new card types. That being said, I guess we'll go ahead and jump through the rest of the cards for the Black Forest and, kind of talk about the major archetypes here.
Let's do
So
it.
we have two major archetypes, both brand new. Like I said at the beginning, some of the realms are getting two new archetypes, and some are getting new archetype and kind of a revamped existing archetype. These are completely new, and it's going to be the Machination archetype, the Spider Machination archetype, and then another one we'll cover in a minute. But let's go through the spiders first. So we've already talked about the Forge, which is going to be a major component of the deck. And then the Mecha Skitter, which is your base machination. You also have access to Scrapbot, which is just it's a base machination that's realmless, so any realm can play it. There's actually a few of these. We'll talk about them some more in a minute. And then the Hive Mind is a 4 cost 3/3 machination. And then let's look at why don't we go ahead and look at our legendary machination for this set? So Arachnara, God of Twisted Metal, is the legendary machination for the Black Forest. He is a 6 mana 4/4, and on Fabricate, he gives all of your machinations +2/+0 and Intimidate. And you can kind of see how this strategy is coming together. You play down a forge, you play a couple machinations, which create more. You fill up your board, you drop an Arachnara, get them all intimidate +2/+0, and just swing in for a big turn. So it's all about very similar to your spiders. You're going wide and then buffing up your team, right?
Yep. Love it.
All right. So along with that, we have a spell, March of the Machines, that is kind of playing into that same game plan. It's a 3 cost spell, and you give your machinations +3/+0, but it's just until the end of turn. So again, we're looking for that big pop off turn, drop your Arachnara, and now you're going into swing.
Yep.
So that's kind of the shell of the deck. Um, but, sometimes you go in for that big swing turn, it's not quite enough to take your opponent out, and then they come back with some AoE or some way to clear your board. Your deck needs a way to rebuild, right? You need a late game bomb in case your first plan doesn't work out. So we have a legendary realmless machination. That's the first between this and Forge, is the first time we've ever introduced legendaries to realmless and creatures to realmless. So this is the Replicator engine, and this is one of my favorite cards in the set. It is really cool. It is a 6 mana 4/4 machination. On Fabricate, it gives all your machinations +1/+1. So again, plays into that buffing your board strategy. But at the start of each turn, you sacrifice a random base machination and summon a copy of this with Rush. And that copy has all of the benefits that your replicator engine got from whatever you fabricated onto. So, for example, say we had a Mecha Skitter down. We've got that 2/3 with Intimidate, and we fabricate this replicator engine onto it. And then we have a whole bunch of other small, say, scrap bots, one little base machinations we don't care about. At the beginning of each turn, you'll replace one of those with a 6/7 uh, replicator engine with Rush and Intimidate. So this can get out of hand very quickly, and it is the perfect way to reload in this deck in the late game.
Yeah, it's terrifying to play against. I've played against Mike in it a few times, and it's quite the powerhouse card. It's not a 10 bomb Cthulhu coming in, but it doesn't need to be. When you start
Yeah.
replicating in front of your face every turn, it's you need to make sure there's no base machinations for this thing to gobble up, because it does get away pretty quick.
Oh, it's strong. And AJ, give me a hard time for this because I feel like every time we play test one of the decks, whichever one I'm saying, I at the end claim this is my favorite deck in the expansion because honestly, I love all of them. But I do genuinely believe that this one's near the top. This Mecha Spider, you know, machination, flood the board, it buff up the board, replace stuff with the replicator. It plays into all the things I like in card games. So yeah, that's the machination, the spider mech deck. One of the two major archetypes for Black Forest. I think AJ's gonna be playing that one tonight.
Yep.
And now let's talk about the other archetype. This is another one I'm very excited about and is completely new and brings some unique things to Nightmares. So let's talk about the Sporelings.
Oh yeah,
So Sporelings are disgusting. they're
super
uh,
gross.
they're fungus based creatures, and they all have this surge keyword. And surge is, in my opinion, one of the best designed keywords we've come up with so far. It takes some of the variants that we ran into with, I think of like the Abyssal deck, where you had to draw your curse and get it in play early to be able to get counters on it. We've taken some of that variance out of how we designed the Sporelings. So what surge means is at the beginning of each turn, this Sporeling will get a spore counter. And so you play him on turn one, turn at the beginning of your next turn, so turn two, he'll get one spore counter. The beginning of the next turn, he'll get two spore counters. And as you'll see in some of the other sporelings, a lot of them have effects that trigger based on how many spore counters you have across all of your creatures. So you don't have to worry about drawing a specific card. You're just getting counters as long as any of these creatures are on the board, which is awesome. But then the downside is, using Abyss as an example, once your That Which Lies Below is on the board, you've got those counters for the game. They're not going anywhere, right? Whereas with Surge, if that creature is destroyed, all of the counters he had, you don't have anymore. So keeping your board alive as you build up your Surge counters is extremely important.
Yep.
All right, so let's look at some of the effects that come along with these, right? So we'll look at the intimidating Sportling.
Gross.
So he also has Surge. He's got a intimidate inspired keyword, so we figured we'd make him as close to a spider as we could and give him 1,000 eyes. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, so the intimidating Sporeling has Surge, so he'll get spore counters at the beginning of each turn as well. And then at the start of your turn, if you have 5 or more spore counters across all of your creatures, then you give all of your creatures Intimidate until the end of the turn. And he's a 2 mana 2/4. Building on that, we have the Rally and Growth Spoiling. This was a fun card to balance. It is a 3 mana 3/5. It also has Surge. And at the start of your turn, if you have 7 or more spore counters, you give all of your creatures with Surge +2/+0 until the end of turn. Um, Spoiler, it was originally much stronger and kind of broken. So this
A little
one we
bit.
had to play test quite a bit, but I think we found a good spot for him.
Yeah.
So that's our Rally and Growth spoiling. Um, Next, we'll look at the Catalyst of Insanity. So we're kind of working our way through the major keywords of the Black Forest, right? We already hit Intimidate, we've already hit a buff. Well, we can't leave the Jotun out of this, right? So Catalyst
Mhm.
of Insanity has Surge and Brink of Madness. On Brink of Madness, so when your sanity hits 4, it'll immediately gain 5 spore counters. and it is a 5 mana 5/7. And it's got Surge, so it's gaining spore counters every turn it's in play, but it'll gain an additional 5 as soon as Brink of Madness triggers. All right, and then let's look at the legendary Sporeling. The Alpha Spore is a 6 mana 6/8, also has Surge. And at the start of each of your turns, if you have 10 or more spore counters, you can spend 5 of those and deal 5 damage to a random enemy. That can be an enemy creature, it can be the opponent, um, but you'll spend 5 of them and do that much damage. And then start of the next turn, as long as you're above 10, do 5 again. So it's kind of our way of doing some direct damage. We don't get quite as much control. You don't know that it's going to be 5 damage directly to the opponent, but it is 5 damage that's going to target something on their side of the board. And even if it's a creature, it clears the way for all of these Sporelings that you've buffed up with your Rallying Growth Sporeling, or the next card we're going to talk about, to swing in and crush your opponent. So we have one more big payoff card for this archetype. It's a curse. Um, this is a really fun one. So Exponential Growth is a 4 mana curse, and it has an effect that you can trigger once per turn, and it allows you to spend your Sporelings. So, or sorry, spend your spore counters. So everything about this archetype is about building them up, to trigger these different effects. But there's kind of a push and pull because you also have this ability to spend them to trigger powerful effects. So every time you trigger this, you get to choose one of the 3 options. You can spend a single spore counter and give all of your creatures +0/+1. You can spend 2 spore counters and gain 2 life, or you can spend 3 and give all of your creatures +2/+0. And again, you can only trigger this once per turn, but trust me, once per turn is enough. It is
Plenty.
very powerful card. Yeah. All right, I think that is all of the cards that we were going to cover for this initial set. So I think we'll jump over to the deck techs. We'll walk you through the actual deck construction for the 2 we're going to play tonight, and then we'll jump into some gameplay.
Love it. Can't wait.
All right, so let's talk about the Spore deck. I'm so excited about this archetype. So at the low end, we've got our Spreading Sporeling. This is our 1 mana 1/3. This is the card we want to get down ideally turn 1, turn 2, and just start getting those spore counters accumulating. It's very important for kind of the overall strategy for the deck. And then we've got some other, ideally you could curve perfectly. We have a 1, 2, and 3 cost Sporeling. But really any mix and match of those, you don't necessarily have to hit the 1 and then you're Intimidating Sporeling on 2, and then you're Rallying Growth Sporeling on 3, because the effects from these guys were really going to trigger more in like the mid to late game. So the Intimidating Sporeling, giving all of your creatures Intimidate, well, you really want them buffed up before you're giving them Intimidate, otherwise you're not doing a whole lot of damage. And your Rallying Growth Sporeling is really your way of buffing them. It gives them all +2/+0, and that doesn't trigger until you've got at least 7 spore counters. So again, we want to get these guys down early, or multiple copies of Spreading Sporeling, or just we want to get as many low-cost Sporelings down as early as possible, so they'll start accumulating those spore counters. And then these effects we're going to trigger a little later in the game and use it to just kind of steamroll the opponent, is the idea. You've got your Exponential Growth, which you really want to get down as soon as you have a free turn. So when you get to 4 mana, if you've already got a couple Sporelings down, throw this guy down. You don't necessarily have to use it immediately. This 3 cost, give your creatures +2/+0, that's again kind of like a finisher effect that you're going to use closer to the end of the game when your board is solid. You've given everything Intimidate, and you're ready to kind of swing in for the win, even if it's a couple swings across a couple turns. But the 1 cost effect can also be useful earlier in the game when you want to make sure you keep your Sporelings alive so that you don't lose their spore counters. You can use this over the course of a couple turns. You're only paying 1 spore counter. You'll recoup that very easily, but you're making your team a little harder to kill in case your opponent plays like a Necromaniac, or a Shadow Mage, or some form of AoE. You make your creature's toughness high enough to avoid getting your board wiped. If the game goes a little longer, if you don't close it out in the mid game, Catalyst of Insanity is a really good way to kind of swing back in. Say your board did get wiped, and you lost a lot of your spore counters. On Brink of Madness, on top of whatever he's accumulated while he's been on the board, you get an additional 5 spore counters. So this is kind of your rebuild card to kind of bring you back in the late game if you got a little behind. And then the Alpha Spore is our closer, right? He's a 6-mana 6/8. He's also accumulating spore counters, and at the start of each turn, as long as you've got 10 or more spore counters, which by this point in the game you should have a whole ton, he's just going to start doing 5 to random enemies. Could take out your opponent's creatures, could do 5 damage to their face. I mean, he could just wipe out the opponent on his own, right? If he happened to connect that last 5 points of damage. So just a really strong closer on top of a big board of Sporelings that you're buffing, giving Intimidate, buffing with your exponential growth. You just kind of build that inevitability and overwhelm the opponent. We are running a couple Hungry Spiders in case you don't hit your turn 1 Sporeling. You want something to do early. Same deal with the 2-cost Spiders, Ambushing Darkwood, because it's the best 2-drop in the game. And then we're running 3 Scavenging Wendigos. Because, again, we really want to hit that early curve, it's important to have access to card draw. So, say your starting hand just has like Hungry Spider and Scavenging Wendigo as your lower cost cards. You could play the Hungry Spider and then on turn 2 sack it to the Scavenging Wendigo, draw 2 cards, and hopefully get your Sporelings. Because, again, you're trying to set up that early game board state to carry you throughout the game. So yeah, that's the deck tech, and let's jump into some games and see how it fares against AJ's Mech Spiders.
What's up, guys? We got deck tech here for the Black Forest Dark Machinations Spider deck. So what we're looking at here, what we're trying to do, very similar to the normal Spider deck, where you're just looking to get low to the ground, aggro, swarm with a bunch of spiders, and then pump up what our spiders are doing, and then we're just going to send them. Intimidate is going to be our best friend, just like it is in the normal aggro Black Forest deck. So we can start looking at some of the cards here. We got some fillers here. We got some Realmless base Machinations. That's just going to help smooth out our power curve, getting some bases down so we can fabricate our more powerful spider Machinations on top of. So we got the Scrap Bot we talked about earlier, just a 1/1. And then we got the big brother of the Scrap Bot. We got Scrap Intimidator, 2 cost, 2/2 base. Got a few of those in there. We got your classic Hungry Spiders. Let's see where we find those guys in the collection here. Yep, the classic Hungry Spiders, the 1 cost. That's what we want. This is our turn 1 card. That's what we want to get down. A 2/1 with Intimidate. Between that and Scrap Bot, there's going to be our 2 early game targets. Another one to complement early game is going to be our Mecha Skitters that we talked about. 2 cost, 2/3 base Mac. We got Intimidate on that as well. Try to get a few of those down. And then one of the most exciting cards in the deck, in my opinion, is the Forge here, the new area card in Dark Machinations. 2 cost legendary. Whenever we play a Machination, we'll summon a random base from any realm. So it could be anything. So hopefully we get some cool ones and show you guys that just pop up from other realms. We could take advantage of those and fabricate our stronger mechs on top. And that'll give us some cool keyword side effects on our strong Machinations in this deck. Could be really exciting, make some cool combos. Like a flaming spider or something. Who knows? Ambushing Darkwood is a classic we have to have in here for some board cleared stabilization. Scavenging Wendigos in there is going to help us draw some cards when we get rid of just a base that we don't need. And then we got the March of the Machines. That's going to give us our big pump. That's a mid-game, late-game pump. 3 costs plus 3 till end of turn. So once we get our Arachnara down, which is our legendary here, we get her down. Late game, this is what we want. Fabricate, give all our Machinations +2, and Intimidate. So we're going to Fabricate, get that down, we'll have the Forge down hopefully, spawn an extra Machination, give it +2 Intimidate. It's going to be awesome. Big swarms. Hive Mind's going to be a good middle ground so we get Arachnara out, get another Mecha Skitter down, give us more bases to fabricate onto, and get more pumps from Arachnara when she comes down. If the spiders fail, backup plan is Replicator Engine. So this is going to be our legendary Realmless card. And that'll give us Fabricate a +1/+1 all Machinations. And start a turn, we'll sacrifice a random base that hopefully we've been generating with Forge and Arknara making the Mecha Skitters, or excuse me, Hive Mind making the Mecha Skitters. And we're just going to keep gobbling those up and making more replicators and get them nice and huge and try to swing them. So that's the plan. Just go wide and then get tall. So we're going to go wide first and get tall and make some big, crazy mech spiders. Let's get after it. See you out there.
All right. Game number 1.
All right. New expansion.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay. I think that's a decent mulligan.
Pretty good hand. Pretty good hand.
Mine is
Okay.
passable. Oh, you must be going first. Okay.
Yes. Get the old classic out. Nothing to see here, just normal spiders.
I'll see your hungry spider, and I'll raise you 1 hungry spider.
Spider-Man meme.
What is this? Base set nightmares?
Let's yeah. This is boring. Let's get the forge out. How you feel about that? Let's go somewhere new. Let's get out of these depths. Let's play the forge down. Nice and early.
Oh, look at that.
Looks awesome.
Man, I'm so happy with how that turned out.
Oh yeah.
Alright, well, I'll see your new card, and I'll raise you a Sporeling.
Gross.
And I'll attack with a spider.
Makes sense.
Got a little spore counter here.
No problem. Let's get a Mecha Skitter out and summon a random new card yet to be seen. Spoiled by the game.
Well, what is this? This is a
This is
Hellfire
Impling.
Impling?
Yes. From the Void Realm here. He's a 2-cost 2/2. Has a new keyword Molten. He's a base machination. And on summon, deal 1 damage to the opponent. And the Molten tooltip at the top says burn enemy creatures damaged by this.
Ooh, wonder what
So
burn
they're
does.
burning the homies.
Guess we'll have to find out next week.
Yes, we shall not say. And I'll give you another basic spider.
Okay, well, if your plan was to swarm, I think you're pretty effectively doing that.
Feels good. Feels spider. You know, I'm a big old spider boy.
Feels spider. Alright, do another one of these guys, and since you still don't have something that can block Intimidate, I'll swing with my spider. I feel like that's
Makes
not
sense.
going to be for long.
Well, if I play my cards right,
Not your best work.
Matt, I have done better. Well, you don't have anything that can block Intimidate either, huh? So how about a March of the Machines?
Oh,
Give a little
don't
bit.
love that.
Yeah, we'll send the house here.
I can't block the Intimidate, so that's a lot of damage coming in. I can block this guy, though, so let's get rid of him. Oof, okay. Sporeling's not off to a strong start.
They need their time to surge up.
Yeah. Let's just get another spider down. I don't really want to let these guys get any weaker, so we'll just pass the turn.
That makes sense. Makes sense. Alright, so now let's do a scrap bot.
Oh.
Ooh,
that's
look at this, another
one.
new card.
What is this guy?
This is a Draining Engine from the Silence Realm. He's a 1-cost base machination with 1/2 and lifesteal. So nothing new there, but he looks cool. Base machination.
Very cool.
Nothing crazy. Yeah. And then I'm going to summon a Hive Mind. And I will now choose which one to fabricate onto. And I'm going to fabricate onto the lifesteal. Let's
Yeah.
cross-realm fabricate. Get a little crazy.
That's what I would have done too. And look at that, his lifesteal keyword carried forward.
Sure did.
Alright, I can block one of these this time. So I will do that because I don't want to die.
Makes sense.
Alright, we're down to 5. No big deal. But we got an ambushing Darkwood. That helps
Excellent.
things a little.
A little bit.
Alright. So we're going to go here. And then I'm going to play this exponential growth.
Nice.
And I will activate it and give my creatures +2/+0.
Nice.
Swing in with these Intimidate boys.
Nice. Well, decent amount of damage.
Sporeling's cracking back a little bit. Game's not over yet.
They are cracking back. Oh, they have Intimidate, so I can't block with anything. So there we go.
Alright.
Well, I'm in a little bit of a pickle here. Let's see. Replicator engine.
Okay.
So he's out there now.
That seems pretty strong.
Yep, and we got another new base machination to appear. It's a Void engine from the Void Realm. That's a 1-cost base, 2/2. And it's got Molten and Anti-Arcane. Anti-Arcane keyword is this creature can only be damaged by combat. Interesting.
That is a fun keyword.
It is a fun one.
It has a lot of implications for this set.
It does. Now, what to do? Don't want to lose the Void engine, I don't think. Because I'm kind of out of machinations here, so the ambushing Darkwood really got me. I'll just send a little baby spider.
Giving up a blocker there.
Yeah.
Alright, well, we're just going to activate exponential growth again. Just pump up the gang a little more. And
Sure.
It's looking like a good game for the Sporelings. It was looking dire there for a little bit, but we swung back okay.
Yeah, the board clear did it for you. That's for show. Nicely done.
All right.
Spore ramp came in strong late.
Game 1.
Very nice.
Alright, so we're going to switch things up a little bit. I'm going to play the Mecha Spiders and let AJ take a crack at the Sporelings.
Yeah.
Alright. That's actually not a bad hand. This is a greedy hand. I'm like tempted to keep the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure I shouldn't. Mulligan 1 card.
Attaboy.
Alright, well, turn 1 Hungry Spider, as one is wont to do.
Yes, indeed. And to you, sir.
Okay, I see you. Alright, well, Mecha Skitter.
Nice.
Alright, First Blood goes to the mechs.
Yep.
I'll take it.
Alright. Do a hungry, and we're gonna get a spreading spoiling down.
Ooh, okay. Getting the count going. Yeah, I can't block that. A little back and forth. Alright.
A little bit.
Oh, what's better here? Into this. Draw some cards. Okay, yeah, that's good. Alright, you don't have Intimidate blockers, so take the free 4 damage.
Sure. Seems smart.
Way out here.
Indeed. All right. Well, I think the next best thing to do here is
Okay.
get a couple more
Okay.
Sporelings down.
Getting some spore counters going.
Yep.
Free damage for you. Okay.
Yep.
Nice. Up game.
Nice even clip here between the two.
All right. Let's add a hive mind to this. Fun.
Nice.
And yeah, we'll come in for. Let's go attack both of these.
Okay. We shall. Can't block the intimidate, so let's see. Can't kill the Wendigo. Let's see. I don't want to give my spore counters either. See decision point. I will just do this. Keep him alive.
There you go.
Do one. Do that. Okay. Now. A lot of damage over there. So, I think best thing for me to do right now, full board, is just sit on these spore counters for a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to throw blockers at you, or attackers at you. So I gotta sacrifice my spores. So I need to lean into the spore count accumulation here.
I hear ya. But I'm gonna do a March of the Machines
Well, that's not good.
and just kill you.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes it do be like that. So, alright. Just not my night
Crazy
tonight, it
thing,
appears.
I had a Raghnara and 2 replicator engines in hand, and we were at 5 mana. I was gonna pop off next turn, and then I drew the March of the Machines, and I was like, oh, I think it's over.
It's almost over. I have 5 left.
Oh, you had a blocker. I didn't realize you had a blocker.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now I've told you it's in my hand.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
This is fine.
There's not much I can do about that. I'm going to die this turn, though. So, lead.
Still fine. It looks like I get to do the cool thing.
Yeah, you do get to do the cool thing. I don't really have any good options here, to be honest. All the Intimidate's going to just ruin me here, so...
There's the plan.
Get that guy out.
Yeah, that would have been good a turn or 2 ago.
Yep.
Alright. Here's a Raghnara.
Nice.
All of my Machinations, +2/+0, and Intimidate. And we'll just swing in with a gang.
Your Hive Mind actually didn't get it, which is interesting.
It did on my side.
Okay. I'm blocking him with a 1/3. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. Am I dead? Not dead.
Nope, not dead.
We live just to die. Oh no. Do they all have Intimidate forever? I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Ragnar is not at the end of turn.
Oh no. Get the Alpha Spore down.
Yep.
Nice. I need way more spores though. We do not have nearly enough to do anything cool, but he's out here.
I mean, I think it's enough to keep you alive, probably.
He is a 6'8", so he is a thick boy. Could trade Raghnara, that's for sure. Well, that's a 12-10.
Yeah,
13-12.
I did replicator engine onto my Raghnara.
Makes sense.
Yeah, let's go with
It's not
this
not looking good, gang. I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, you can go there. Like that guy. Then 10-4 over there. Just throw one of you up in front of him. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Gosh, you got a lot of power over there right now.
Sure do.
Could even take advantage of my Intimidate, because you have 3 things with 10 power or more. Okay, you know,
Going to that guy.
sure.
Yeah, we're just coming with 2 14-12s.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Everything's fine.
Probably gonna want to ball.
Yeah, I'm gonna block. Just you know, do a little mathy maths out here. Gosh, they are just gonna live forever out here.
Oh, okay. Ambushing Darkwood. So they're not gonna live forever.
No, those guys are. A couple of them are gone. Stubborn spores they are.
Yeah, it's them coming down to the wire.
Alright, I think I still have to sit on 8.
I thought this game was over.
Hanging on somehow. The Alpha Spore kind of came down and helped stabilize. Got a lot of man over there though. Oh, well, there's something you don't like to see.
Alright, I'm just coming with the 2 14-10s.
Again, it's no problem. Everything's fine. Just do that. Tanky robots over there. Tell you what,
They're a little on the tanky side.
a little bit. Man, I do have Intimidate, but it doesn't really matter. Guess I could swing enough of them to make you give up one of your big bots. Looks like I did. Did I do 5 random damage to one of your bots? I think I did. I think the Alpha Spore hit.
No, you have to have at least 10.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if I had more than 10 and it just took 5 or not.
Oh, yeah, it did. The guy on the end took 5. You're
Cool.
right. I remember seeing that. Okay. I'll get rid of that Alpha Spore. Oh, I'm gonna take that. 6, 7, 11. Ooh, that was fine. The 14 one, I guess. Is
Okay.
Alright.
Bye, buddies.
Okay. Oh, man, I can bring in one. Oh. Yeah, I can get one. Alright.
There's another replicator engine. All right.
Oh,
See ya.
Alphaspor's out here. Oh, man,
Nice.
Alphaspor's out.
Just gonna get stomped on by giant robots.
Lots of giant robots. Don't worry, I'll march with the machine gun.
Yeah, sure, why not? Let's just lean in.
Just
Come
2, 18,
swinging.
7, 10, 7, 4, 4. We'll let the 2-1 stay back on the bench.
How generous. Just the casual 50 damage attack. It's no problem.
On the last turn, too.
Freaking ouch.
-31. That was a hell of a game.
That's all. That was pretty fun. I tried
Yeah.
to stabilize there for a bit, but those giant robots got huge. Nothing I could do.
Yeah, you were starting to balance back out, and then yeah, those replicator engines, man, they're good late game.
Potent for sure. GG's, man.
GG.